Welcome to the Divine Lifestyles Podcast. I'm your host, Tara Magalski. Together with my guest experts, I cover topics ranging from cutting-edge healing modalities to hormonal harmony, to nutrition and plant medicine, to mindfulness and spirituality. My goal is to educate and inspire so you can create your own divine lifestyle. It's time to dive inward, rewire your brain, and heal from the inside out. Hello. Welcome to the Divine Lifestyles Podcast. I'm your host, Tara Magalski. Bill has been an energy healer for over 20 years with certifications as a Reiki master and teacher. He's also the co-creator of the Time Temple charts. He's the author of 4 books and is a featured speaker at the American Society of Dowsers National Convention for the past 4 consecutive years. Bill uses the pendulum to help his clients discover and learn from their own shadow selves through the use of several different dowsing charts and systems. Bill believes that anyone can dowse, but the challenge of researching the shadow self through the ancient art of dowsing is to give the subconscious mind permission to clear whatever that is blocking it by first discovering what the block may be. And he does that without judgment, without hate, but with opening the mind and the heart to the pure power of love. Well, thank you, Bill. Thank you for being here. I'm so happy to have you. I know Bill because I've actually done a dowsing session with Bill. So let's kind of just jump into it. What is dowsing?
What is dowsing? Oh my gosh. Dowsing has been around for centuries and centuries. In fact, if you go back to the earliest cave drawings, you'll find somebody holding what they call a weirding wand, or a two-piece, just a dowsing can be as simple as just holding 2 pieces of wood in front of you, or it could just be using your own intuition. I personally use a pendulum, but I'm also learning how to use the L rods and the Y rods. There's so many tools that you can use. Many dowsers use their own bodies, where you just what they call applied kinesthesiology, which is the use of your body, what they also call muscle testing. And that also is a form of dowsing. It has been around for centuries and centuries. It's the American Society of Dowsing, which I'm a member of, has been around since 1961. And actually, I'm going to be a featured speaker again at the upcoming convention in June. I'm going to be doing a talk on dowsing the shadow, and I'm also going to be teaching one of my dowsing charts, which is dowsing your story using literary archetypes.
I love that. So let's talk a little bit about that, because when we did our session, I think it was just a few weeks ago, really was able to uncover my shadow self. So how does dowsing help you to see your shadow self?
Well, we have this annoying thing called the ego. And the ego likes to make up stories and come up with rationalizations about how we're feeling or what we're going through. And it likes to assign blame to everything on the outside and not what's going on the inside. Because what's really happening is the subconscious is trying to tell you something. You can call this your higher self. You can call this your spirit guides or whatever. There's a lot of words to describe this phenomenon, but it is a part of you that is trying to tell you, hey, you need to pay attention to this. And by paying attention to it, you can then learn how to let it go. One of the things I love to say to people is, once we discover what it is in your shadow, leave it alone. Give it permission to leave. It's a part of you. We have to first acknowledge that this is a part of you. And that's why letting go of the judgment is so important, because we can be very self-judgy, especially when pendulum is coming up with things that we really don't want to
Look
learn
at.
about ourselves or don't want to see. And
Yeah,
so we give it permission to
absolutely.
leave, and then the healing actually starts to happen on the subconscious level. And the next thing you know, whatever it was that was bothering you, that prompted you to want to do the dowsing in the first place, is just not a big deal anymore. It's just not. It's like, oh well, it's not, I'm done with that, and
So
that's
essentially, it is just by bringing that awareness, right?
exactly.
Having the awareness and then being able to allow that to go, acknowledging it without that judgment, without any, hate or whatnot, and saying, okay, I see it for what it is. I now release it. Because I thought that was very interesting when we did our session. I was like, whoa, wow, okay. I was like, okay, let's look at the shadow self. And like, it was pretty intense. I felt.
Yeah.
Would
It
you
is.
agree?
It is. It's always very intense, because your ego doesn't want to learn these things, because your
Yeah.
ego wants to stay safe. It's like, oh no, keep me, tell me lies, tell me lots of lies, so that way I can believe that it's all my husband, or it's all it's my dog's fault, or it's my upbringing, or it's my terrible job. That's why I feel so terrible. It's because of my terrible job.
But you
And
made the decision to be in the terrible job. So, I get it. It's like, but you are allowing that terrible job to still be a problem in your life.
exactly. And then you have to ask yourself too, well, if I'm in this terrible job, then what choices did I make to be here? What am I trying to teach myself in that process? And can I actually live with live with that job and make it a teachable moment, make it a healing process? I mean, I've had
Mhm.
people come to me saying, hey, I hate my job, I need another job. And then we do the dowsing, and the dowsing comes back and says, something along the line of, it's not the job, it's you. You need to make a change or make a choice. And sometimes the choice is leave the job, but sometimes the choice is stay in the job. And they're like, no, 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 I came here for you to tell me that it's something. Well, you came here with a preconceived idea of what you thought I was going to tell you. And that's why we so much have to get rid of all those preconceived notions. Whenever I start a session, I break out my pendulum and I tell my pendulum, okay, we're just going to do the dowsing. And sometimes when I'm doing the dowsing, I'm chit-chatting about anything except what we're working on. I mean, I'll sometimes describe the protocols, because the protocols that we came up with are a very intricate. They are based in a lot of ancient philosophy and dowsing research that I've done. Uh, and that allows me to get to a really deep root. But
Very
as
quickly, too.
yeah, very, very quickly. And so
Yeah.
while we're doing that dowsing, I let go of all of those preconceived notions about what we're going to find. Because sometimes when somebody tells you beforehand, you're like, yeah, and they tell you their whole life story. You're like, okay, I got an idea where this is going because I've heard this story before. My side job is I'm also a tax preparer, so I've heard everything.
Yeah.
I've heard
Like,
so
we do
many
a lot
different
of
stories.
things.
Yes. So
So
that's
let's
my
talk a
ego
little
coming in.
bit. Let's talk a little bit about these charts because I was really blown away
Yeah.
at how you were like pulling out books and charts and things. And I was like, whoa, it seemed to me confusing. But
Hmm.
you had said, oh, no, no, no. Like there's a system and you've created a lot of them with your wife, right?
Yes. Yes, I have. The
So
first
tell
system I
me
ever
how that,
learned. Yeah.
yeah, live and
Well, the
learn.
first system I ever learned was the spiritual response therapy system created by Robert Detzler. And he created these things in the late 80s, early 90s. And it's a system of 36 charts that kind of spans the journey of the soul.
Mm.
And I was working with that since 2003. So it's been 20 years now. And I was exclusively an SRT person for a while, and then I started expanding out into other chart systems. Uh, my wife is an acupuncturist, so she was very much into esoteric acupuncture or Chinese cosmology. And I found it very, very intriguing because those charts are about the journey of creation,
Interesting.
and the relationship with oneself. So we called it the twin flame within restructuring, and we created a set of charts for that. So we use those, and then we
What
also
are you
create.
using? Sorry to interrupt. When you're creating the chart, what are you using? Like you're using older charts, like where is the data points? Like how does one start to want to create this chart?
Well, uh, we first get an understanding of what it is. We first ask ourselves, what question do we want to answer? What types of questions we want to answer? Like, for example, with the twin flame within, we're trying to figure out what the relationship is with oneself through the lens of Chinese cosmology. So we first familiarize ourselves with Chinese cosmology and the
Mhm.
different various soul planes within that. And then what we do is uh, for each data point um, with each data point within the chart research, what I would do is then I would douse the SRT charts to provide me with some further understanding of what it is. And then I incorporated those two systems to create phrases that would tell the story of one's relationship with oneself. And so that's just that set of charts. And then the piece de resistance that my wife and I put together was the time temple charts. And the time temple charts incorporate the Chinese cosmology, but it also incorporates uh, time travel from Dominer. Dominer is a group in northern Italy that has done a
Mm.
lot of research into the nature of time, which is why we call them the time temple charts, because all of that is about what is feeding your now moment. And it also incorporates very heavily into the law of one. And the law of one was a channel communication by an entity called Ra through a medium named Carla Ruckert. And it's basically the blueprint of creation that was revealed through these channeled uh, communications. And
Meaning
so
power of one, we are all one.
now it's the power of one. It is the law of one.
The law of
The
one. And what
law
does
of
the law
one.
of one mean?
Yeah, the law of one is that we are all one. That
Okay.
that all of time and space and all of every moment and every being within it is all part of the one creator.
Yes.
And
Okay.
so so that is the law of one, and there are different densities and frequencies within the law of one. We could talk for hours and hours and hours about the law of one. It's there are scholars who spend their entire careers studying nothing but the law of one. And so we developed that into a set of charts, which is a circular chart system that spins and has cross referencing, and it's really,
Mhm.
really cool. And then on top of that, once we had that together, we were like, okay, where are we going next? And every time we have a question that none of the charts seem to want to answer or can answer, we develop a new chart. And those charts we call the ascension charts. And so those
Mm.
charts have things like blocking constructs, those things have ancestral constructs. What is blocking my ability to expand consciously? And so
Mm.
I use those charts as well. Again, it's a very, very complicated system that
Yeah.
I've used very much in every session that I do. But one of the cool things about Akashic dowsing, and this is what I call it, Akashic dowsing, because we're
Yeah.
reading the soul record by using dowsing.
I love that.
What's cool is that anyone can do this simply by using your own library at home. So if you're a collector of books like I am, I've got lots and lots of books, self-help books and whatever. If I have a question that none of my charts can answer, sometimes I'll ask a question that they can't answer. I simply ask the pendulum, show me the answer in my house in a book that I have in the house. And then I let the pendulum guide me to that book. And then once it's guided me to that book, then I will find out what page it's on, what's the paragraph on the page that it's on. And it's 100% accurate every single time. And you can try this at home. This is something that anybody can do. Just be sure that there is a protocol that you need to follow, that everyone needs to follow when they're doing their own pendulum work. And the protocol is simply this. First of all, you got to let go of all results. You got to say, okay, I'm going to accept whatever answer comes to me. Then you have to be very, very specific about the question. Because the more specific the question, the more specific the answer is. And then there's a very simple protocol where you go, may I? Can I? Should I? And what you're asking there is you're asking the universe, first of all, may I? Do I have permission to ask high self or ask my higher consciousness to find this information? Can I? Do I have the ability right now to channel the energy through my pendulum so that way it can give me an accurate result? And should I? Is the result going to be a benefit to me, or is it better that I not know? Because
Now, when you're
sometimes,
asking these questions, are you using the pendulum or you're just
yes,
listening to see if you hear? Oh, you're using
you
the
can do it
pendulum.
either way. I
And
use
tell
my pendulum.
everyone, pendulum up and down. Do you have the pendulum with you?
Yes, I do. Pendulum up and
Yes.
down
Yes.
is my version of yes.
Yes.
Pendulum
Yeah. Yeah.
side
Yeah.
to side is my version of no.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes if it's pointing kind of to kind of in a catty corner type of direction, that means I'm not clear to ask this question.
Yes.
Because if you have an emotional connection to the answer to the question, or you're feeling emotional about it, you will get the wrong answer every single time. You have to
Ah,
let go of the emotion. You have to let go and say, okay, whatever comes up is going to come up, and I will reserve judgment until after I've done the dowsing. Then,
okay.
which is why it's so important, don't interpret as you're dowsing. And if your dowsing is indicating, say I'm doing the book method, I use it, I go to my books, I find the page, I find the paragraph, I read the paragraph, or I copy it down on a piece of paper, or I take a picture with it with my phone or whatever. Then I ask the question, is there more that I need to know? Is there another
Mm-hmm.
book that I need to go to? And if the answer is no, then you found it. It's good. You're good to go. But sometimes it'll take you to another book. And then you take the first paragraph and then you take the second paragraph and you put them together. And that's going to tell you a more complete story. And
I
that's
love
how the
it.
charts work too, because I'm going to constantly, I'm flitting around to all these different charts, and they all tell a different story,
Yeah.
but together they weave a, a story that is very unique to you and your particular situation.
I've got an exciting offer for all of my listeners. The free Divine Daily Practices video series. Get simple practices to release anxious thoughts, sharpen your intuition, and rewire your nervous system in less than 10 minutes a day. Come on over to my website at divinelifestyles.com/divine daily practices. And over the next week, you'll receive a complimentary self-care system to drop into your authentic self and activate your divine intuitive wisdom. I hope you enjoy. Could you give us a little sample? of what it's like. So could you maybe grab a book or something? Because I know that when you're doing the readings, it's a bit more in depth. But is there
Hmm.
something that we can do that we could just show anyone watching?
Sure. I'm in a room right now without books. So,
Sorry, I put you on the spot.
yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So, okay.
Okay, so now we are back. We're back with the book. Can we see the book
Yes.
on camera?
Yes, we can. It is Alchemical Healing by
Okay.
Nikki Scully.
Scully. Okay, awesome.
All right. So, I've never read this book, so I don't know what's in it, but it is about self-transformational healing. And so what you do next is you don't count the index or the
All right,
appendix.
show us on the camera.
So first of all, you go to the part of the book that is the last part that's going to have like writing on it, and then you just take a note of what page number that is. Actually, no, let's include the emerald tablet. Okay, all right. So that is page 320. So there's 320 pages to this book. So the first question is it in the 0, 1, 2, 3 for the hundreds place? It's going to the 100s place.
Okay.
So 0 through 9.
Can you show us on the camera? Because I can't. Yeah.
I'm
So
sorry.
you're breaking that into three. So I'm going to have you
I'm
start over.
imagining in front of me a
Okay.
number line,
Okay.
0 through 9. So it's pointing to 5. So it's 150, 0 to 9 to 6. So 100 is on page 156.
So it's like you break it up into quadrants.
Yes. So here's page 156, a lot of writing on it, so we got to figure out where on the page is going to be. There are
Okay, so
one.
show the book, and then so we can see like how are you going to break that page up?
Okay, so we have this is the top paragraph. So 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs. Okay,
Okay,
so
4 paragraphs, got it. So you'll break it up into four.
breaking into 4, which
Okay,
paragraph?
let
It's
me
on
see. Pull
paragraph
it up
2.
higher.
Yep,
Oh,
paragraph number 2. Paragraph number
okay.
2. So paragraph number 2, 156, paragraph 2. Is it and then I'm going to ask, is it a sentence in the paragraph or is it the whole paragraph? It's the whole paragraph. So I'll read the whole paragraph.
Okay.
I immediately take hold of that energy, usually with both hands, and conduct it into the earth, following the first rule of alchemical healing. I will continue to draw out, usually in increments, for as long as I can feel energy releasing. At any time during this process, I may switch to a different method of removing energies. After 2 or 3 passes in this way, my intention turns to refilling the place from which I have been drawing out. I always start with both hands, directing the basic universal life force as I begin to refill the area, fulfilling the second rule of alchemical healing. As you become comfortable with this method of working, you will enhance this process with all sorts of adjunctive procedures, as such as adding herbs, elements, colors, or other ingredients to fill the void created by the removal. Again, always complete with a lavish amount of universal life force. So, to answer the question, dear listener, what are you doing right? What you're doing right is that whenever you are clearing energy or you're doing the work to clear energy within yourself or in a space, you are making sure to balance the energy by replacing it as you go. So good on you, because you are following a very basic rule here of whenever you're doing any kind of space clearing, and this goes when you're doing dowsing or you're doing any kind of clearing work, you need to replace that energy with universal love, or what we call unconditional love or any or pure love, that pure energy you put back into whatever it is that you are clearing out, so that way you restore the balance. Because if you're just going to go and clear space, because that's a mistake a lot of people make in the energy field, is they clear space and then they forget to fill it up again, and that just opens the door for all kinds of nefarious energies to come in there and fill that space, because they will, because you create a vacuum, something's going to fill it. Better to fill it with something that is going to be life affirming and healing, rather than something that is just going to come in there because there's a space to go.
Makes me think a lot of like how we, even with our own bodies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Spirit and energy, and like what it is that we are using our body as a sacred temple, and the things that we're allowing in are of the purest and the highest vibration for ourselves. And even just maybe even think about, even the things that we choose to eat, and the animals that were killed, and the things that we're putting into our body, and just really thinking of it in a much deeper way, that animal meat, proteins, all that whole different types of spirit life in them.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was good.
So dear listener, if this describes you, please send Tara a comment and let her know, hey, wait a second, he was talking to me.
I love
And
that. And I'll set you guys up for a session. Okay.
yeah. And also, let's say that the question was something a little more healing related. We're asking the question of, what practices do I need to do to, what am I doing wrong? So if we've changed it around and say, what am I doing wrong in my spiritual practice? And that paragraph came up, then we would know that what you're doing wrong is you're not following the rules of alchemical healing. You are not filling the place up with universal love. You are simply clearing it and then leaving it alone and letting all kinds of other energies come in instead. Or you're not bringing in that clear love energy, or you're not setting your intention correctly. So that's what
Yeah.
would come up if you were asking the opposite question and that paragraph came up.
Awesome. I find this all super interesting. I'll be honest, sometimes I'm like, whoa, that's like out there, but I was able to really watch you do, because it was really cool during our session. You were able to put the camera down and I was able to see everything that you were doing. That's why I asked you to kind of do it now, because
Oh,
it helped me
I'm
to,
not at the right computer for that.
I know. But it was really good to actually see it and see how you were breaking up into quadrants. Cause, I'm an investigative type. I want to know. I'm like, how's he getting that answer? And then actually to see the process is really cool. And also really being able to see the results. I was like, wow, that's right on.
Mm-hmm.
And it was,
Well,
what I found interesting is that it was picking up really a lot of like ancestral shadow work as well, that was like showing up in my subconscious, which was really interesting.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and actually, when we even first began that session, you were really focused on the ancestral energy. This is what's coming up in the ancestors. What's coming up in the ancestors? And the answer was not much. It was because it started with you, and then it kind of hinted at the ancestors and said the ancestral energy is there, but it was more like you were creating the story using the ancestral energy. It's that ego again. That ego is trying to say, oh, it's the ancestors. It's all their fault. That's what's
Yeah.
happening. Understanding ancestral energy is about understanding the self and how you are related to it. I was working with a client last night who is going through a very painful life situation with her family, where her family is a very traditional family, and so she is coming out to really standing in her power and fighting them, and it's gone all the way to court. I mean, this is
Oh,
it's a protracted legal battle where her family is accusing her of being a bad daughter, and that sort of thing. It's just horrible. And she was like wondering what the heck is going on here. And what was happening what was revealed in the dowsing was you are playing a part to change the energy of the universe. So you think back to all of those women throughout history who stood up for themselves against
Yeah.
religious authority or just patriarchal authority in
Yeah.
general, even if they were persecuted, burned at the stake, and then erased from history. Like,
Yeah.
it was like they didn't even exist anymore. Their action still had repercussions throughout the energetic
Of
sphere
course.
of the universe.
It was a ripple effect too, you
Yes,
know.
even your unsung heroes of what their actions are doing is having that ripple effect. And I
Mhm.
thought that was so fascinating. And so I said, even if you lose this battle,
Yeah.
your action is going to pave the way for success for the next battle. Even if no one has ever heard of you or no one will ever hear of you ever again, the action alone has that ripple effect. And I thought that was just so fascinating that stuff like that comes up during sessions all the time. And it's just
Mm.
neato.
So let's get into as we wrap up here. What got you into dowsing? Like for knowing you now, for we met at a convention, right, at a fair
Mm-hmm.
last year, and what kind, like, you seem to me like you're an accountant by day, you're building charts, you're very logical and linear. Like, what got you into the dowsing and even to the spiritual realm? Was there like a pivotal moment in your life? Um, yeah.
Solving problems. That's what I wanted to do. I
Mhm.
got into it to solve problems that did not have logical answers to them. Um,
Can you give me an example?
well, my wife and I were living in a house in New Jersey, and she's very, very sensitive. She's got a clairvoyant, clairaudient, and she was seeing non-physical entities all over the place,
Oh, I just
and it
got the
was quite
chills.
scary for her. And so um, I learned Reiki at that point because she was an acupuncturist. I just thought it would be fun to learn energy work. So I was already doing the energy work and I was trying to Reiki my way out of this.
Mhm.
Give love and energy to all the non-physical entities in here and see if they go away. Unfortunately, that only makes them stronger. So I was like, okay, all right, what do I need to do here? And so we brought in the South Jersey ghost hunters and they came in there and they said, yep, your house is haunted. I was like, yeah, what do I do about it? And so
Okay.
they suggested that we talk to this dowser who does spiritual response therapy. And she came in, she cleared the house, and the energy was a lot better. And she said, "You realize you're sitting on the conjunction of some ley lines here, and so this house is
Ah,
Grand Central Station, so this is going to keep happening." I'm like,
oh, I
"Okay,
have
well,
the
I guess
chills
I'm
all over my body.
yeah." And I was like, okay, I guess I'm learning dowsing because there's no way I'm going to be bringing this person in
Oh
every
my God,
week
you
to
stayed
clear
in
my
that
house.
house on the ley
Huh?
lines? You stayed in that house?
We stayed in the house for 7 years.
Oh, wow.
And so I learned dowsing to clear the house.
Oh,
And uh and so that's what I did. And I cleared the house on a daily basis. And it worked
wow.
just fine. And then I put it down for a while. And then when I moved to Vermont, Nina was going to get back into acupuncture. And so I was like, someone asked me, well, what do you do? Your wife's an acupuncturist. She's an awesome acupuncturist. What do you do? Well, I do spiritual response therapy. I do dowsing. And they're like, oh, cool. Can I have a session? And I have I hadn't touched my charts in years. I was like, sure. So I break out my charts and I'm like, and I do a session with him and he's like, you're really good at this. And I was like,
Oh.
oh, so,
Yeah, you are really good at it. We got a
light
lot
bulb went
covered.
on and I was like, okay. And so I took another crash course in spiritual response therapy, started doing it professionally. And then I told the universe, hey, I would really, really like to really take a deep dive in this and really do this as my career. And so the universe obliged by laying me off of my day job. And so being unemployed for a little while, it really gave me an opportunity to really focus on this. And
Mm-hmm.
I really honed my craft. And the more I do it, the more I love it. I never get tired of it. I love every one of my clients very, very much. And it just gives me nothing but tremendous joy to see my clients turn their lives around. And it's nothing that I'm doing per se. I don't take any credit here.
Mm-hmm.
All I am is the facilitator. I'm the truth teller of whatever it is they happen to be going through.
Mm-hmm.
And by sharing that truth, they are then able to do that clearing and cleansing on themselves using their own self-healing abilities. And then, and some people like to give me the credit, and I keep saying, no, this is all you, because I've had plenty of
Yeah.
clients that I worked on who saw no results at all because they just weren't ready.
Yeah.
So it's a facilitation, and it just gives me nothing but joy to do it every single time. I could do like a 9-hour day doing taxes at the office, and then come home and do a session with a client, and I'm jazzed. I'm so it just wakes me up
Excited.
because it gives
Yeah.
me so much joy.
So tell everyone where they can find you online and a little bit about the Dowsing conference that's coming up.
Excellent. First of all, you can find me at vitalbioenergetics.com. It's VITAL bioenergetics.com. That's the main website. You can book a free 30-minute consult with me, or you can just book a session right online. Just there's a link for that. We have a monthly newsletter. We also have the High Vibes podcast, which I host. We have other healers that are also on Vital Bioenergetics we're a healing cooperative, and so we do a lot of shared events together. Let's see. The conference is going to be held at SUNY Adirondack in Queensbury, New York, June 6th through June 11th. I'm going to be teaching my workshop on Wednesday afternoon, and that I'll be teaching a workshop using one of my ascension charts, which is the Dowsing Your Story, which uses character archetypes to figure out what is the story, what's the constructed story that I'm telling myself that is my hero's journey. What I'm pretending to be my hero's journey, so that way I can overcome it and not play that role anymore. And I'm also going to be giving a talk on Dowsing the Shadow on Saturday afternoon or Saturday morning, and using the book method. So that way there'll be a live demonstration on that. Also, the conference is featuring our keynote speaker is Gail West, and our Dowser keynote is Dr. Michelle Peel. So that's going to be a lot of fun. If you go to www.dowsers.org, you can register for the conference. Housing is available, and meals are available too on the college campus. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's a fantastic way to meet dowsers. And if you want to learn how to dowse, the first 2 days of the conference, they have a Foundations of Dowsing class that you can take, where you get a textbook that I just edited. You get 2 days of hands-on instruction on how to learn to dowse, and they show you all the different tools that you can play with, and so that way you can find where your voice of dowsing actually is. It's really going to be a lot of fun.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here. I can't wait to come join you at the conference. And just thank you so much. I can't wait to learn more about dowsing.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Divine Lifestyles Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you get your episodes. If you really loved this episode, screenshot it and share it on social media. It will help us to continue to make an impact. With gratitude and love always, keep illuminating your path.